OldGuyTalks.com is all about being a better man. Join me on this kick-ass journey. Exclusive stuff for members only in the Old Guy Cave. Opt in now. Folks, this is Oris the Old Guy from www.oldguytalks.com coming at you here tonight, Wednesday, 6:30 Mountain Standard Time. If you have not already opted in at Old Guy Talks, do so now. Don't wait, don't hesitate, don't procrastinate. You know, procrastination, well, it's a lot like masturbation, and in the end, you're only fucking yourself. So you don't want to do that, folks. You don't want to do that. Plus, you can find out how you can help the old guy support the Navy SEALs Fund, which is a rapid response charity that gets money to Navy SEALs and their families in trouble fast. And I mean, they can do it in 24 hours, unlike bureaucracies of other burdens, big charities. So folks, tonight I have a special guest. By the way, tonight the old guy's drinking a smoking a Monte Cristo cigar and drinking Glenfarclay's 25-year-old scotch given to me by my friend John from Anton Sports. And we have another plug here. He's a great shirt designer and sells T-shirts and all sorts of other swag that I'll be talking to you about later on. Now we got all those commercial announcements off our to-do list, and so I want to introduce tonight. We have a special guest, Christopher Barr. Christopher is a very, very successful, high-caliber commercial photographer and all-around cool old guy. That's right, he's a cool old guy, and as I was finding out more about him, the first time I met him, I always thought there was a lot more to him than meets the eye initially. And as I was doing my research, I found out, holy crap, this guy's life reads like a movie, like a big screen movie. Maybe Kevin Costner could star as you, or something else, somebody like that. It would not be Kevin Spacey, that's for sure.
You're being very generous.
So Christopher, a couple of things. Let's just start at the beginning. How the hell did you become a commercial photographer? Because that's not where you started.
No, I started kind of in photojournalism, that kind of vein. And I was a young kid. I was in my mid-20s, and I just kind of hit the road with the camera. I did a little work. I knew that my heart was in this in some way. I didn't really know where to start. And obviously, if you've got no portfolio and you got to create something, so I dived into the whole photojournalism thing. Got real lucky. Got a couple of opportunities. I started traveling around, and mostly in the Pacific Rim. And things sort of fell into my lap. I actually started, my first clients were Christian evangelical outreach organizations, missionary organizations, relief organizations, ideal places where somebody could go to work and you're not making much, if any, money, but everything else is taken care of, and that's where I cut my teeth. So I traveled a lot and took pictures, and eventually I started selling the pictures to various news organizations as a stringer. A stringer is a photographer that doesn't actually have a salary and a gig with one particular publication. Mm-hmm. Instead, they get their pictures, and if somebody likes them, they buy them, and that's basically how I started.
Yeah. So I was on your website, Peter Lefebvre. Is that how
Peter Lefebvre?
Lefebvre.
Yeah, actually.
I'm part of the unwashed masses, so I can't quite get that French pronunciation down. So he wrote a very, very nice letter of introduction for you, and he talked about how you shot celebrities for Beverly Hills magazine, one of those magazines that we see a lot of times, and how he got to know you, and he said you were more interesting than the people you shot in lots of ways. So that was.
Yeah. Peter and I go way back to those days. After I finished traveling around, and I had a kind of a bad experience in South America, and I decided I would kind of chill a little bit in my hometown of Hollywood. And so I came back. I kind of knew what I was doing with the camera, and started working for this magazine, doing really shitty work. But again, it was actually a paying gig, and sooner or later I got a couple of breaks, and within, I'd say, a couple of years, I was shooting covers for them. And within about, like, I would say 3 or 4 years after that, I was in Los Angeles. I was basically the most widely published cover photographer in Los Angeles. And so that kind of started things rolling.
Well, okay. All right, folks. I need to tell you something here. Chris grossly, and I mean grossly, understates shit that's happened in his life. He said he kind of had a bad experience in South America. Chris, I understand that you hold a world record, or a Guinness World Record, for floating in the Amazon for 4 days straight. Is that correct?
I should have a Guinness World Record for that. I should.
Yeah. So that, folks. That's just kind of a small bad experience, kind of like not getting fries with your order, getting coleslaw instead of fries with your order. So Chris, tell us. Okay, we got to spend a little more time on that. So on that bad experience. So tell us a little bit about what's going on there.
All right. Well, I was traveling. I was doing the photojournalistic thing, and I got this dream gig. It was just awesome. And I don't know if you're aware of this, but in the Amazon jungle, there are indigenous, unknown, undiscovered tribes of people that regularly appear out of nowhere. Usually they're tearing down the forest with a tractor somewhere, and there's one of them. And this happens like at least once a year, sometimes twice a year. The government of Brazil is very protective of them for a myriad of different reasons. But I got this cherry assignment to go with a journalist and be basically first on the scene on this tribe that got discovered back in, 80, 86, 85, 87, somewhere in there. And they were called the Zeruhaha. It took me
Like
5 days. Yeah, exactly. It took me 5 days to get there by pontoon plane and by canoe, and then a 72-hour walk through the jungle. And I mean, it was like the real deal. I'm in the friggin' middle of the Amazon, the darkest part. The guy that dropped me off in the pontoon plane basically said, "Look, I'm gonna be back on this date. I'll wait for you for about 8 hours. I'll spend the night, and if you're not back by the morning, good luck." So I had a return date, which was about a week to 10 days out, and I started my trek. And about 3 days into it, I was like 24 hours out of hooking up with this tribe. And the journalist I was with was supposed to know where he was going and how to get there and have contacts. This was like his second time anyway. We got lost. I got really sick. I mean, really sick. And this was only like 12-hour walk outside the location of the tribe and their village. So the journalist was a nice guy. He was a Japanese Brazilian, and sweet, nice guy who had some problems in terms of just dealing with life in the jungle. But I was really incapacitated. I couldn't move any farther, and he set up a hammock for me with a kind of a roof to it, and said, I'll see you in 2 or 3 days. So I laid in this hammock, really upset, feeling like I was going to die. I thought I was going to die. I didn't die, but I had quite an experience there.
Yeah. What keeps you going in something like that, or you just kept on going without just you didn't? I mean, what mentally is going through your head while you're experiencing something like that?
Well, that's a pretty high stress thing. I had a little bit of freeze dried food with me. I had a chlorinator that helped me drink water. The water there is dangerous, and but in terms of what was going through my brain, to be honest with you, I kind of knew what was wrong with me. I knew what was going on, and it's a malady that I have, a blood disorder, and it kicks in under certain conditions, and all the conditions hit, and I was expecting to die. So really all the mental stuff I was going through was just getting okay with that idea. If I got a little energy or I could get vertical for 10 minutes, it was because I was really hungry, and I saw a monkey or something, and I had a shotgun, and I'd do my best to pull down one of these critters and eat it. But for the most part, I did not, even if my companion came back, I didn't expect to get out. I just didn't. I knew I didn't have the energy to make it out with a 2 or 3 day trek back to the plane. And so that's what was going through my mind. He returned. I almost shot his head off because he scared the Jesus out of me when he showed up. I literally almost killed him. Somehow I managed to get to the river, and I was literally on my last legs. I couldn't move much, and he basically built this raft that we could put gear on. And I don't know if you know about the Amazon jungle, but the wood there doesn't float real well. It's a lot of hardwood and soaked wood. Doesn't float real well. Anyway. So I was in the water for 2.5 days getting out, dealing with leopards, dealing with piranha, dealing with this animal. I think it's called a crunju, but it's been so long I can't remember. But it's a worm-like creature that is attracted by your urine and literally swims up your urethra. And yeah,
oh, fuck that.
yeah. When I suggested to my companion, maybe we can float out of here, and he looked at me. He goes, "You mean float in the water?" And I said, "Yeah." And he goes, "No, I'm not going to do that. There's no way I'm going to do that." And I explained to me all the reasons why. Anyway, he ended up getting in there, and by hook or crook, the Lord was smiling on me. I don't know how, but I made it back to the plane and by my hair, my chinny chin chin, and I got out. Didn't get a picture. Totally blew the assignment.
I imagine you left your camera back there. Are you going to go back to your camera?
I left a few things back there. But I got out. It took me about a month to recover. I was covered with all sorts of insect bites and other things, and but I made it back. And after that trip, I decided, I'm going to plant in Hollywood for a while and see what I can do. And I started picking up the magazine work, and a lot of doors open. I got really lucky, and that's my career today. Kind of started back there in 87, 88. When I came back home.
Yeah. Now you had another story that's mentioned about being smuggled over some borders.
Right. Well, this. So in my travels, by the time I got to the Amazon, I had this reputation as being kind of I would say an expert, but I knew how to handle myself in a jungle with a camera. And I was at ease there. That's how I ended up in the Amazon, where I didn't look so much like an expert. But I was shooting in Southeast Asia. I was all over the place. China, Burma's now Myanmar now, Thailand, Kampuchea. But this particular trip, I was going through Thailand into what was then Burma, and to do this another incredible story covering the Red Karen. And the Red Karen are a tribe of indigenous Burmese who live and control basically the Golden Triangle area. And they were also in a rebellion, in a civil conflict with the government of Burma. And it was quite tense. And for me to get there, I had to be smuggled over the Po River that runs between Burma and Thailand. And that was kind of a harrowing experience. I went into Chiang Mai. I don't know if you know anything about Chiang Mai, but it's kind of like Casablanca during World War II. It was just a haven for spies, jewel smugglers, drug smugglers, and it's right on the border there, right in the Golden Triangle area, and it's a jumping off point for all of them. The smugglers bring the stuff in, spies do their stuff. It was quite a crazy place. The first day I left my hotel or wherever I was staying there, I literally walked into an alley and bumped into a car with a guy who had been shot in the head, still sitting in the driver's seat in the alley. And I'm going really light. My cameras are covered. Nobody wanted me to be seen with my cameras, so I was being very discreet with regards to that. But that night, at like about 1 o'clock in the morning, I got into a canoe on the Thai side of the border, and we made the trip over, and got that particular stretch of the river. There are certain stretches of the river that were controlled by the Karen, and certain stretches of the river that are controlled by the government. And so when the Karen were moving me over, they were most concerned about moving through the area where the government controls the river, which was kind of there was an intersection point where they both met. And sure enough, we got halfway across the river, and all of a sudden, and I don't speak Thai or Burmese, and I got, all of a sudden the engine dies. And I thought, oh great, engine trouble. No, they turned it off. And the guy that was with me, said, get down and be quiet. And sure enough, it was a Burmese patrol boat that came in on us. And I ended up in the water. And these are the days with film. So I kept my film in the boat, but I'm sitting there in the water and hanging onto the canoe. And the guy's there talking to me. He goes, if you'll know if you need to swim for the other side. And if you need to swim for the other side, swim fast. So I'm in the water. It turned out okay. There were no guns fired. The patrol boat passed in the night, and I got back into the boat and got into Burma and did my gig there. And that particular part of my career, I was young, and I'm telling you, being a journalist, photojournalist, is not for guys our age. You got to have stamina. You got to be in a risk-taking mode. But it's exciting and it's fun and it's romantic. And I got to experience things that I was wet behind the ears and just out of UCLA and never been out of really Mexico, maybe Canada, maybe Hawaii. But I was not a world traveler. But by the end of that little 5-year stint, I'd seen a lot and traveled a lot, and I was a different person, a changed man. My whole outlook had changed. My perspective had changed. I'd never understood that we here in the United States and in first world countries, represent, 5% of the world population, and the rest of the world does not live like us. Yeah. We're in this hermetically sealed jar with McDonald's on every corners and all that, and the rest of the world's not like that. Yeah. And I got to experience that firsthand.
Yeah, we're very fortunate because most of us our problems what we call first world problems. Where do you want to go to eat? Things like that. Those are the big decisions that we have to make. So I'm going to switch gears here a little bit, kind of get more into your art. What makes a photograph spectacular versus good? What is the difference between there's all sorts of levels of photographers that are professional photographers, and obviously there's there's people that do the regular stuff every day, and and there's people that practice the craft at the art at a high level like you do. What would you say is the biggest difference?
Well, emotional content, I would say, of the images. Between photographers, it's an experience game. I am lucky enough to get the gigs that I do at the level I do because I've been doing this for so long, and there's not much that can be thrown at me that I haven't seen before. And contrary to popular opinion, photographers are more problem solvers than they are picture takers. I probably spend 20% of my time taking pictures, and the rest of the time it's doing very unphotographer kind of things like marketing and office work and editing at a computer and location scouting, and it's really, really dry stuff. So that experience level of being able to go in and get shoots where there's a lot of money involved, requires a high level of trust from clients. So you got to have the portfolio in place, and you got to be in enough situations that are challenging. And if they don't see you sweat and you solve the problems, then you get more gigs and you get a reputation. And that's really the difference between someone who's been doing it in their first 5 years of their career versus someone like myself who's been doing it longer than that.
Okay, all right. I'm gonna call bullshit on something you say. You use the word luck a lot. I don't believe it. I don't believe that at all.
Really?
No, I don't believe fucking luck. I mean, maybe a little bit of smidgen, but I think it has to do with the work and talent. When you go,
It does. It does. But you know what?
Yeah, luck is lottery.
Luck is lottery. But I'll be perfectly honest with you. I'm not the greatest photographer out there. I've been doing it a long time. I shoot well. I can hit with the best of them. I do work that I'm proud of. But there are so many awesome photographers, in my opinion, that can shoot rings around me that are blocked from success because they haven't had an opportunity. The door hasn't opened at the right time when they were ready. The opportunity just didn't knock at the right time. And the funny thing is, Oris, sad to say, there are incredibly pathetic photographers out there that are making quite a bit of money.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
So a skill set, in my opinion, you got to have it to get ahead, but based on results, that isn't a prerequisite. So when I say luck and opportunity and maybe who you know, that's kind of what I mean. A great shooter still has got to have Lady Luck winking and on his shoulder.
I guess my take on it is a lot of people are presented with those opportunities, but they don't realize that they're there, and they don't step and go through and take the chance. Because a lot of times they show up a lot of times in people's lives, and they don't take that chance. What's the most fun shoot you ever had, or a couple of fun shoots that you say, "Oh, this was a blast! I had a blast doing this. I want to do this again." And you can say the supermodels on the beach in Fiji. You can do that. That's fine too.
Here's the funny thing about that. I've had some awesome shoots, and I've had a great life, a blessed life, and I've experienced things that are just like off the charts. I've been really lucky. There aren't too many things left on my bucket list. But the thing with the girls, Oris, when you're actually working, when you're actually doing that, it is not erotic. It's not arousing. It's fun afterwards, maybe, But when you have a camera to your face and a crew behind you and stylists, and when all that's going on, there's nothing erotic about it. It's very technical. It's very in your brain. You're not oogling, you're analyzing, and it's very dry. It's very sterile.
Yeah.
But once you're wrapped, things can get a little crazy. But other than that, it's not as magical as one would think. It's crazy that way. Does that make sense?
Well, actually, it does, because I'm going to tell you a little story. I had a friend of mine that owned a strip club, and he said, "Horace, you'd think this would be a real fun business, but it really sucks. It's really a lot of hard work and managing a lot of unusual personalities." And he was successful at it, but then he eventually just sold it and got out of it, because he said it was just a nightmare to handle. So, what? So I don't think we ever kind of got worked around it. But what are really fun shoots that you've done? Like a few fun shoots. Name a couple of things that really struck us.
I've had just so many great opportunities. I think one of the most fun shoots I ever had was I got this gig for I think it was Success Magazine, a cover shoot for Tony Robbins, and he has a resort that he owns and lives in Fiji.
I've been there.
They flew. Have you been to his resort?
Yeah, I've been to his resort.
Fiji. Yeah. Oh my God! Well, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
How long ago?
This is a funny story. Only if you are into. I went on a Tony Robbins event to Fiji. This was in 2002, because it was for my 50th birthday. And we went, my queen and I went, and we went there to go and fast. I can't believe we went all the way. We went all the way to Fiji to go fast. And
that's so cool!
And do a program with Tony. I don't know. I don't think you go halfway around the world and go fasting at a five-star resort. And the people that worked at, you could smell the food that was being cooked. So
Good stuff out of that kitchen too.
Namali, right? Is it Namali?
Yeah.
Yeah, Namali. And I remember that. So so that was a fun shoot. And with Tony Robbins, I imagine he would be. I assume that he is like a 20 going all the time.
Listen, I can't say enough good things about him. He's generous with his time and his energy, and he took me around the island for like a 4-friggin-hour tour of his property and the jungle and all this and that, and it was like it felt like we knew each other for quite a long time. He's just got that connective ability, and he was just great. Now the funny thing is I was there for a week. When everything's said and done, I didn't actually shoot him for more than 20 minutes at a time, maybe 3 or 4 times. And the rest of the time, he just put me up in the largest, best suite he had, and that's what made it fun.
Was that the one with the bird cage in it?
I don't remember a bird cage, but it had multiple outbuildings, a pool, all private, and it was just 5-star. It was first class. He had just finished it actually.
How long ago was
this? This would have been 90. Maybe it was 2000. I can't remember. Maybe probably like 2004, maybe 2003. But I just had the time of my life, and it was like a vacation. And I spent time with him. And the funny thing is he didn't really want to be photographed, so he'd give me like 20 minutes at a time. So I'd have a crew there on the beach waiting for him, and we're waiting for an hour. He saunters down, and we shoot for 20 minutes, and he says, I'm done. And his wife was charming, and but I got to see the island, and those kinds of things are kind of like one of a kind experiences and unexpected. And I've had some pretty fun shoots, but the funny thing is most of the fun takes place after the shoot, because shooting people, it's a very connective experience, and you get to know somebody pretty fast. They get to know you pretty fast, and oftentimes, personalities resonate, and you end up on their plane. They say, "Hey, come on, let's take a trip somewhere unexpected," or you end up at their home, and you spend a couple of days, and it's very spontaneous. It's very unexpected. You meet great people, and at some of the people at the level they are, they can do anything they want, and they meet you, and you've got a new friend, and there's bonding time ahead. So that's what really brings unexpected joy for me. The shooting itself is, like I said, it's you're working. You're friggin' working.
You're working.
So it's kind of a head game kind of thing.
Okay. When you are at a shoot and you show up, what goes through your mind when you're trying to decide how do I stage this? What things go in your mind when you think about staging it? The personality of the person that you're shooting, the location, the lighting, all that. What kind of things do you do that go through your mind?
Well, I'd say the shoots fall into two basic categories: an editorial shoot, like a magazine shoot, like the Tony Robbins thing I told you about. Mm-hmm. That's I've got a story or a story draft that I've got that kind of helps direct the shoot and the tone of the shoot, the aesthetic of the shoot. And then there's commercial shoots, like advertising shoots, and those shoots you've got art directors and creative directors and clients and a shot list, and everything is more structured. And your creativity has to fit into your square creativity has to fit in their round shot list that they're trying to get. Editorial shoots is much more flexible, much more freedom, much more creativity. I've been doing it long enough that now people, magazines will send me out and they just let me do what I want, which is ideal and fantastic. So, when I go into a scout, I'm thinking about integrating the subject into it. How do I, not just the location, but the story? How can I create pictures that are, my look and my aesthetic, but at the same time, something that's going to be edgy, that the magazine's going to be really happy with, that the subjects are going to be happy with, and most importantly, what I'm going to be most happy with, because, you were talking about joy and fun shoots, and a shoot really isn't joyful for me or fun unless what I'm producing is juicing my jets. I'm a creative guy. That's where my joy comes from, creating. And if I'm creating something that I'm looking at and go, oh, this is awesome, then I'm really happy, and that's what makes me happy. And if I'm looking down at the camera and I've got guys looking over my shoulder and I'm looking at it and go, oh, this is shit, we got to change gears in some way, then it's not, that's not the joyful part of it. But when you're analyzing where you're shooting it, it's every photographer has a different eye, different graphic drive, a different aesthetic, and that you analyze it within the confines of that. Sometimes you have a subject that's going to be a challenge, and that going in. It's not unusual for me to get on the horn with a client and they say, this guy's a bear. It's not going to be fun. He doesn't like you. He doesn't even know you. He doesn't like you. He doesn't want to see you. He doesn't want. Yeah, and I shoot a lot of people that are used to the camera and do it a lot. Not just professional models, but entertainers, high-profile personalities, that kind of thing. They're used to it, and I'll tell you, most of them aren't into it. Most of them don't like it. It's a necessary evil to them. So you kind of have to factor that into it in terms of how much pressure and cajoling you're going to do to try to do something different with them.
Okay.
Because every photographer in the world that shoots them was going to want to try to do something different and new and exciting. And it's kind of hard with somebody that gets shot all the time and isn't in a good mood, for example.
So that kind of leads a little bit of a lead in. If somebody wants to look good, if they're the subject of a shoot,
Yeah.
what things can they do to enhance posing? Is there things that you get people to do that you're shooting to say, okay, you'll be better if you do this or whatever? I mean, is there any posing? What kind of suggestions sometimes you give people?
I get this. I teach, and my company. We have a pretty substantial intern program here in Phoenix, and that is. I don't know why, but that just seems to be such a common question about it. And my point of view about it, and they've got books. They've got books on posing, what to do with people. They've got flow charts and flashcards and all sorts of things for photographers who, want to look for ways of posing people. And really, it's not about that at all. It's not about that at all. There's no magic formula. Put your hand here, put your wrist there, lean on there. What it's about is getting that person to relax and chill out and have fun and be themselves. And really, that's the key. My job is to find out what being themselves looks like and make it okay for them to do that. And for people that aren't used to being in front of the camera, they don't know. They're body conscious and they think that relaxing doesn't look good. And you have to tweak stuff, obviously. But for the most part, my job is to get people to relax and just be themselves. And if they do that, the shots are probably going to be good. Yeah. But there's no magic formula for how to set them. But getting them to relax, getting them to the point where they understand that I'm taking the pictures, they're not. You hear people say I take terrible pictures, and it's kind of funny because that's the way they think of it. And I have to remind them, you're not taking the picture, I am. So leave that to me. If they look great, I'm going to take all the credit, and if it looks like crap, it's my fault.
And there's always Photoshop.
And there's always Photoshop. And I tell them that too. It's kind of like they go, I look fat, and I'll say, I can fix that, and say, I've got a lazy eye, I can fix that. And it's mostly about just assuaging their concerns regarding their self-perception.
You mentioned, I want to talk a little bit more. You give back a lot to your profession through a mentoring program that you have. So tell us a little bit more about your mentoring program and how you basically help aspiring photographers.
Well, it's awesome. First of all, it's awesome all the way around. It's awesome for me because the young people, the young kids coming up, the people that work for me, I'm usually the oldest codger in the group. Mm-hmm. And I got to tell you, it's these young people that inspire, that come up with crazy friggin' ideas, mm-hmm. that they motivate me, they inspire me. I love the whole mentoring thing, the interning thing, the teaching thing, because it's one of the main ways I stay fresh and learn new things and learn ways of looking at things and staying on trend with things. And so for me, it's a huge deal. For them, it's wonderful. I have connections with all the photo schools in town and even out of state. I taught for a long time. I'm a visiting speaker with a lot of photo schools around the country. And people will come and intern, and they get to work on sets. They get to work as a part of our crew. And they spend FaceTime with me in the office and in the studio, and get to see how things. This business is about acclimating, and just like you're getting a subject to relax and feel at ease, a newbie photographer, their biggest challenge is just relaxing and trusting themselves and acclimating to a new world and a new environment and a new way of interacting with people. And it's funny when you intern. I guess that's the point of interning. You get to see somebody do it, and you get to figure out, oh, this isn't as hard as it looks, or I thought it was. It's always harder than it looks. But at least they get to see. They get to be in the trenches, and my crews are top notch. They really know their stuff. They make me look really good, and I can't say that enough. My stuff looks great. I'm very proud of it. But when you're talking about big production shoots and a lot of people on set, they make me look good. And they also are usually the ones that are having to handhold the interns and the third assistants and the new guys, and they have a real low tolerance. So if an intern can last a month with my own crews, they have a possibility, because usually they get chewed up real fast. And I'm a nice guy, but my crews are not so nice.
Well,
the new guys, the greenhorns.
Yeah, and I guess that kind of decides whether you want to be there or not. So
trial by
Chris,
fire.
Yeah. So, Chris, we're now into the bonus question round. The old guy is about virtues, and I think we've talked enough about your virtues, and we've hopefully we'll eliminate that word luck out of your vocabulary, because I would call bullshit on that.
How about blessed? Do you like blessed?
Bless is okay, but I think you put into work and you seize the opportunity. You, as I tell my kids, there's a famous saying. It's actually Machiavelli that says, "Fortune favors the bold," and when the opportunity is there, it's a window that opens and closes, and you got to step through it when it opens, and when it closes,
that is true.
Done.
That is true. You're absolutely right. That is true. And then from that point of view, I wasn't lucky. The opportunity knocked. I rushed in. I was, you know who my first celebrity cover was? And it was my second cover was a celebrity. My first one was a entrepreneur that was pretty well known. But my first celebrity cover was I can't even think. It was Johnny Carson's sidekick. Ed McMahon. Ed McMahon.
Wow.
Yeah, Ed McMahon. And
you have to be old like us to know who that was.
Yeah, exactly. And it was the very first one. I was scared shitless. I mean, I didn't get any sleep the night before. I'd never really shot a celebrity. I think I threw up that morning. There was so much pressure on me because I had, this was such a break. And I had shoots behind me, particularly in the beginning of my career, that were fails, were huge fails, where I ended up in tears because nothing looked the way I wanted, and I got stuck. And so all of these past experiences were coming up for me. I had this I felt this pressure like I never knew. But here was this door that opened on a shoot I wasn't even supposed to get. I was the third photographer on the magazine, and the first two guys were sick. And all of a sudden, the publisher calls me in and goes, "You want to do it?" And and that was the moment of truth, exactly like you're talking about. Where the fear sets in, and the funny thing was, my first reaction to that question was not, "Yeah, I want to do it." My first reaction was frozen in fear, not knowing what to say and do. That lasted maybe a second or two, and I said, "Yeah, let me do it." And I walked out of the publisher's office, thinking, what the hell did I just agree to? Am I ready for this? That kind of thing. Turned out great. It was fine, but
how was he to work? How was he to work with? Now that he's dead, you can say anything you want about him.
Well, the funny thing is I ended up shooting him about a half a dozen times after that. I got in with NBC after that. I've shot Ed. I shot Johnny. I shot Jay Leno, and I've been doing this a long time. But that first one was the bitch of the bunch. Yeah. And Ed McMahon was a wonderful guy. I think I shot him with his second or third wife. I'm not sure. And
he probably couldn't remember either.
Yeah, but the funny thing is these celebrities do this so often. They're very at ease with it, and him being relaxed and not being a tyrant or a asshole, but just being a down to earth, nice, jovial guy like he was, really made it so easy. And I was young. I was, a little bit afraid. It was Mr. McMahon this, Mr. You mind doing this? I was like uber respectful. Like I'm not like that now. I'm respectful, but I'm a little bit more at ease in those situations. But I've had some challenging subjects, and he was not one of them. So it just kind of greased the skids on the whole day. What was your question? I think I rambled on.
It was about whether Ed McMahon was nice. Come on, I got my say hello. Say hello. We're on Facebook Live. This is my daughter. She came back from college.
Really?
Yeah.
Hi there.
Okay. Okay, honey. All right. What happens is these kids come home from college. They say hi. They give you a hug, and they're out with their friends, like in a heartbeat.
Yeah. I just sent mine off. To college about 6 months ago, and I don't know how many you've sent off to college. This was my second, but my first daughter, my only daughter, and out in Los Angeles, and it's hard. So there you go.
Okay, so as I was going around here, we've been talking about virtues and all the good things and everything else, and now we're going to get into the vices.
The vices?
Your vices, yes, Christopher. Yeah. So let's talk about your vices. What would you say is a vice that people will be surprised that you have?
Orest, in all honesty, I don't think anybody who knows me or what I do would be surprised at any of the vices I have.
Okay, all right. So let's start off with one. I have one in mind, but
oh my God, I've never been asked this question before. It's like, can I get arrested?
No, I got
some vices. I got some vices that are G-rated. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I play a lot of poker.
That's what I was. Yeah. So
I play a lot of poker.
You play poker at again, folks. This is where Chris is understating shit. You go to Vegas with the big boys and play poker, right?
I do. I love it. I started playing poker before I picked up a camera, and I was technically a professional all the way back then. I only did it for like a year or two. I almost got an ulcer doing it. I came away with some money that seeded a few different things that I was doing when I was young. But I never lost my love of that game. And nowadays I play pretty frequently. I love it. And I play several times a week. I do play in the World Series. I play in different places. I love private games, and that is definitely my biggest vice, I would say.
What's a private game? I mean, is it just people at a house, or is it something more like you would think, like a secret area where you knock on a door and there's a guy who opens a slot and says you got to know the password, or?
That's it. Not so much. That's New York. You go in New York and you got the little slat on the door and the password and all that stuff. Definitely. Out here in Phoenix, it's the laws are a little bit more loose. So you have games in homes, and the people that attend are play at a certain caliber, and there's a lot of money on the table, and they've also got games all around town that are. They are underground. They're not sanctioned. They can get busted at any time. But I play at the casino, at the various casinos with poker rooms too. Mm-hmm. But I really enjoy the private games the most, and that's kind of where you'll see me most of the time. Are you a card player?
No, I'm not. I wouldn't know how to even start to play poker. I like to play blackjack, but I just like to have the numbers roll through my head. That's all. It's just kind of find it very relaxing to sit and just kind of sit there and try to figure out the odds as things are going.
Yeah.
So,
whoa. I'm interested in some of your vices.
Oh, no.
And don't tell me cigar smoking.
I cigar smoke. I have scotch. I'm a pretty boring old guy.
I followed your blog and stuff. You're not that boring, Horace.
Yeah. So the vices have come and gone. They're pretty benign now. It's like cigar smoking on a regular basis, several times a week. Having scotch. I will try every once in a while something exotic. This is not really a vice, but I'll go river rafting or do something like that.
That's not a vice. You ever been to the Orient?
No, I have not. I've been unfortunately I've been very parochial. I've only been to Europe, and that was Eastern Europe once, and Fiji, and that's about the only time I've left the continent. So I've been very, very parochial in staying here. So what kind of liquor do you like to drink?
I love Patron. I'm embarrassed to say it because this is so pedestrian, but I'm a Fireball fan.
Oh.
I love red wine. I used to smoke cigars when I was younger, but I don't anymore. But yeah, I'm and you know what? Come to think of it, some poker friends of mine are getting me into scotch, and and they've been sharing really old, expensive scotches with me. Like $200 a bottle, $100 a bottle scotch. They'll pour me a little, and I'm kind of learning that as I go, and I'm really enjoying it. I was never a scotch fan, and then I realized really what I'm not is a cheap scotch. I'm not a cheap scotch fan. I really until I was exposed to it, I really didn't know the difference between something that's 12 plus years old and something that's not.
Right.
And
right.
that it's just a very complex, multi-layered, to a Scotch connoisseur. I don't know if there's a special word for it, but these guys, I mean, the bouquet and the way it's made and how it's made and where it comes from. It's like I'm constantly surprised at how much there is to learn about that. But I in the last year and a half, I have been drinking more and more scotch, and really, really enjoying it.
Well, I went to a Scotch tasting event in San Francisco a couple of years ago, and we had actually had a graduate course in Scotch.
Really?
Tasting. Yes, it was actually very good. And those guys from the distilleries are all really funny. Of course, the famous joke, and I'm sure they tell it all the time, but how does a Scotsman find his sheep in the high grass? Delightful.
Have you heard the joke about the sheep herders, and they're sitting around the campfire, and the the youngest sheep herder, the newest one, is encouraged to go out and have his way with one of the sheep, and he bags off and says no, is embarrassed, and finally he goes out into the darkness and has his way and comes back, and all the sheep herders are laughing at him, and he's embarrassed and he's shamed and he's angry and he said, why would you do that to me? Why would you tell me to do that? And I come back and you laugh at me, and they all say, no, because you took the ugliest one.
That's pretty funny. So Chris, now if you're eating bad food, something you shouldn't be eating, what do you eat? What do you eat?
I love fried chicken. I love that. I love burgers. But you know what? I'm around people that more and more I eat less and less crap. And I had a Big Mac for the first time in like 2 years last week. And that was a wonderful experience. It tasted so good.
Oh yeah, I know. Sometimes it's really the best. Do you have a favorite burger place in Phoenix?
I like the Hamburger Habit, and but most of my most favorite hamburger places are like in LA and New York. But where's a great burger here? There's some great burger places. Pizza. I found this pizza place that just like blew my mind. It's called Mod. Have you heard of that place?
I've heard of them. Yeah.
Yeah, you walk in, they put whatever you want on it, and it's just, I've been going there recently for pizza, and I'm really loving that. And that, I'm told is not the best of foods to eat, but
that's pretty good. All right. And any other vices that you want to share with the audience and kind of come clean, bare your soul? You can think of this as kind of the Old Guy Talks confessional.
How can I'm not going to incriminate myself, but while we're on the subject, I must say, I invested in a medical marijuana dispensary a few years back. And thinking I'd just kiss my money away because the laws hadn't been passed yet and all of that. And I got my medical marijuana card recently. And it's funny, in my old age, it really does cure a myriad of ailments for me. And so I don't know, is it a vice if it's legal?
I guess it's medicinal. We'll leave it at that.
Yeah, there you go. We'll leave it at that.
We'll leave it at that. So folks, we've been on here for we've been talking for an hour. It's been.
Are you serious?
Yeah, we're right coming up right on the hour. So
it feels like 20 minutes.
Yeah. So this has been very illuminating, as the old guy likes to say. Christopher Barr follows the old guy way. He is leading a kick-ass life, and as you can tell, just because he's getting older, by no means is this motherfucker old. Not a chance. So
I'm a teenager at heart.
You're a teenager at heart. What they say, every man stops growing at age 12, at least.
Feels like that.
It feels like that's the days. So, folks, this is Oris, the old guy from www.oldguytalks.com, signing off. If you have not already opted in, what the fuck are you waiting for? Do it now. Don't wait. Don't hesitate. Don't procrastinate. Lots of cool shit on the blog on a regular basis, and you will be kept up to date on it. So, Christopher, thank you. And what is your website in case anybody wants to get you to shoot pictures?
www.christopherbarr.com.
All right, folks. There it is. Take care, and it's all about having a kick-ass life.
Take care.
Take care. opt in and encourage other old guy assholes like you to opt in also.